More tough talk from the Transport Minister. Now he wants the legal alcohol limit reduced. You're watching Newsday. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us.
Barely a week after proposing to reduce the national road speed limit, Transport Minister Sbu Ndebele now wants the legal alcohol limit to be lowered as well. Responding to a parliamentary question from the DA, the Transport Minister says he plans to relook at a section of the National Road Traffic Act that deals with the legal limit. Current legislation allows motorists to have 0.05 grams of alcohol per 100 mils of blood. This is equals to 2 glasses of wine or 2 cans of beer. The minister's latest call is part of government's efforts to curb the country's high road death toll. Well, more on this one with the Department of Transport spokesperson Tiani Rekotso, who joins us from Johannesburg. Tiani, good afternoon to you. How much lower does the minister want to take the alcohol limit?
Good afternoon, Andrew. We are obviously very concerned about the fact that despite clear evidence that alcohol consumption, especially consumption at an excessive limit, is actually one of the major contributors to the road carnage that we currently experience on our roads. As you've correctly put it, we're currently standing at 0.05% for ordinary drivers and 0.02 for what we classify as professional drivers. This will be people who drive public transport vehicles such as minibus taxis and buses themselves. So we are currently in discussion, or we plan to approach the Medical Research Council with an intention of basically seeing how low can we go, because indeed there is clear evidence that despite all the messages that government is basically taking out to the public, all the campaigns that we have, and basically demonstrating that alcohol is a danger to driving and road safety, people continue to do that. So we believe that indeed we shouldn't be a government that only shouts slogans, but we need to act because the situation out there is completely uncalled for.
As you say, you know, the current limit 0.05, which is roughly equivalent to a couple of glasses of wine or a couple of cans of beer before getting behind the wheel. Are we looking at possibly halving that?
Look, we will be guided by the outcome of the research, which, as I indicated, will be conducted in conjunction with the Medical Research Council. Ideally, we'll basically have a situation whereby if a person drinks a glass of wine or a can of beer and they don't feel proper enough or fit enough to basically jump onto their car and embark on a journey, they should basically get somebody else to drive them, or they shouldn't drive at all. So ideally, we basically want to have people who out of their own conscience acknowledge how much of a danger alcohol is to road use and basically take some responsibility themselves without having to be forced by government.
Ordinary motorists are one thing, but I mean, isn't it time we introduce zero tolerance for professional drivers? I mean, this limit at the moment of 0.02%, shouldn't it just be a flat zero, surely?
Well, one of the things that we are looking at as a new measure, we're currently in discussions with other stakeholders such as the Automobile Association of South Africa, driving schools. We want to basically ensure that people who obtain driver's licenses afresh from now going forward, or as soon as we basically reach a particular decision, should given a probation period of at least 3 years or so. So you get issued with a provisional license. In between your learner's license and your full driver's license, we want to introduce what we will call a provisional license. So in other words, within those 3 years, if you are found to have been under the influence of alcohol, of any limit for that matter, you basically have the provisional license withdrawn from you, which means that you will never be able to drive on our roads. You will never be able to get a full driver's license. So basically, that's one of the measures that we want to look at. But indeed, in terms of the current drivers who currently possess a driver's license, would go all out, will pull out of stops to basically make sure that those who deliberately endanger the lives of other people on the roads are basically dealt with. This will also see us introducing new harsher measures, punishable measures, for people who deliberately, who can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they basically deliberately went out and committed a crime, and which will result in the loss of lives, as we see currently on our roads.
A lot of people think that the current limit's pretty strict as it is. What's the thinking behind lowering it? Why is this current limit not being good enough?
Well, there is a clear indication that a person who is other people can drink maybe 3 glasses of wine without having their vision or ability to drive impaired. But unfortunately, we are not in a position to deal with cases on merit, that this particular individual can have 6 cans of alcohol, this one can have 1. So we basically want to have a limit that will basically see us leaving no loophole, whereby other people will basically drink, even if it's 2 or 3 or 4 glasses, but still go onto a road and pose a danger to other road users. So we are trying our best as government, but we are pleading with the public, particularly the drivers, that in the first place, it's your responsibility to make sure that you conduct yourself in a manner that doesn't endanger the lives of other road users. Roads are shared spaces. It's not an exclusive space for anyone. And that's where our message with regard to the speed limit comes from as well, because indeed there are people who turn our roads into racetracks. And it's completely appalling to basically have people conducting themselves in a manner that shows total disregard for the lives of other people, because indeed there is clear indication that it's things such as speed, it's things such as excessive alcohol consumption that lead to some of the multiple deaths that we experience on our roads.
Isn't part of the problem, though, Tiani, a lack of visible policing on the roads?
Well, we are under no illusion that the solution to the current problems that we have on our roads is going to come from one section, or it's only going to come from one idea. We believe that we need to have a package of solutions, and one of the most important things that we continue to put more focus and pay attention to as government is the issue of law enforcement, because indeed there is a clear indication that some of the cars that cause accidents on our roads are in the first place not fit enough to be on our roads. So we are working closely with our agency, the Road Traffic Management Corporation, law enforcement agencies, provinces and municipalities, to make sure that traffic officers that we deploy to our roads should adopt a zero tolerance approach when it comes to the issue of checking the roadworthiness of vehicles. And indeed, if somebody is caught driving at above 160, which is an unacceptable speed limit, or an unacceptable speed for somebody to be driving in currently, that person must be taken to jail, because that's what the law says. But we seem to believe that we are not there yet in terms of making sure that the regulations that are stipulated in the Traffic Act are actually followed to the core. So we want to go back to basics and ensure that proper vehicle health checks, so to speak, are conducted, so that we don't have these mobile coffins carrying our people on the roads only a few kilometers later after being led by a law enforcement officer on the road to go and kill all those people that they're carrying on board.
I know this is just an idea at the moment, but when's the Minister hoping to have a new limit in place?
Well, we are quite happy as the Minister of Transport that our proposal to have the speed limit reduced to below 120, it can be 107 or 103, has basically got the nation talking about an issue that I think there's nobody who disagrees that it's a national irritation. It's a serious problem. The Minister has basically described it as a pandemic, because every year we lose at least 14,000 lives. That translates to 1,000 every month. That translates to 250 every week, and then at least 40 every day. So clearly the status quo can remain as it is. Something needs to be done, and something drastic must be done now. So that's where we're coming from. But we are more than happy to have the nation engaging. Indeed, our raising of that particular issue has seen a lot of people coming out, not necessarily in opposition to the proposal by the Minister of Transport to reduce the speed limit, but basically giving comments and views about how best can we deal with this issue. And indeed, the issue of law enforcement with a view to arrest those who deliberately disregard the rules of the road, and those who deliberately put mobile coffins on our roads, especially public transport vehicles, are locked up.
Tiani Ricozzo from the Transport Department, thank you for your time on Newsday this afternoon. Drive carefully.